this, right? Use, which was not compiled using any key. So if you see here, the assembly manifest just contains the version, right? It does not contain anything else. But now if you look at this particular program that has been compiled with, okay, so I have to open it. Let me open it. So let me open this particular exe. If you see the manifest of this exe, it contains the public key. That's the public key. It's the 128-bit information. For simplicity, GAC, will have, for simplicity, it also has, this thing is again has to an 8-bit value that you can use and refer, just so that you don't have to store this 128-bit in your particular assembly manifest, all the time. But Microsoft will always consider the complete public key token. So this is just for simplicity's sake, in the GAC and all that you see tokens, but it will always, because multiple public keys can hash to the same hash value, right? So that's the idea. So this is what the additional information is, what is contained here, if you think about it. So it once again gives the same, what's the hash algorithm, I think there's sh something, and it gives all this, right? So if you try to compare these two things separately, let me open the previous file. You see here, if I try to compare these two things side by side, so you will see that they are pretty much the same, right? They both say that we use an external assembly, that is the MS core lib. That is I told you that's the standard assembly that contains all these basic base types. And it says that, okay, this is my assembly, in this case it's Jeff types, in this case it's program. Here it contains the additional public key information that this is missing, and it's I think this hash algorithm is basically put in every time. That's pretty much it. Okay, these are the additional things it contains. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about delay signing. Okay. So what do you mean by delay signing? So this particular web page also talks the same thing, that okay, how can you sign, etc. So what is delay signing? What happens is that the private key information, now that is not that the private key is something that is very closely guarded, because let's say Microsoft signs a DLL with its private key, it means a lot, right? So it will not, let's say you are doing daily builds, right? When a product is under development, you will do daily builds. Now for the daily builds, you don't want to always sign with your private key, because maybe it's not available to you, it's only available at the end when you're just about to ship it. So what will you do is but you have the public key, right? And you do want the public key because other team members or other people who are developing and using your DLL, you definitely want them to compile with your public key token and everything, right? So what you do is you delay sign. What you say is, I just have my public key, I still want to sign my DLL so that other DLLs who are referring have the public key token information present in their assembly manifest. And that's pretty much it. So you're not hashing anything, there is no private key, so you're not hashing, there is no check that is happening. So technically speaking, it cannot be placed in the GAC. Delay signed assembly cannot be placed in the GAC. But what you can do is, if an assembly is delay signed, you can ask Microsoft that turn off verification for that particular public key token. So let's see, we'll think about it. We'll actually do this, what will happen, right? So what we are doing here is that in this particular file so here if you see, we created this program.exe, and I think I might not GAC util /if program.exe. So we could add it to the GAC because the program.exe was signed, right? So let me ungag it. So it's the same command, and you have to say uf. U is basically, it's not uf, it's just uf is for force, and it will uninstall, right? So it says that one has been uninstalled, one of the assemblies haven't been uninstalled. So let's now try to delay sign this assembly, right? So when we try to delay sign, what we need is the public key. How you can extract the public key is you can run the sn command -p, where p extracts the public key, and you can say the file name is mykey.key, and you can say, okay, you know what, extract it to my public key.key, right? So you will just extract it to the my public key. So it says that public key returned to my public key, right? So you can see what's this public key looking like. It's some hash value, right? So you can't actually see it correctly. So now what we'll try to do is, let's try to sign our assembly with this particular key, with the public key. So what we are doing here is that we are going to sign it with my public key, right? My public key. So if you see, oh, it actually failed, I'm sorry. So it was missing the private key, so it failed, right? So it failed because it was missing the private key. So I think let me try to recollect how can I delay sign it, right? So what you need to do is you need to explicitly tell the compiler that, hey, delay sign this particular assembly. So you need to say delay sign. Okay, so delays could not find, so delay sign somehow is still not working, and I think the reason is that we should specify, I think the key file is the first thing. The key file is public key. The delay sign, it is delay.
It is being used by another process.
No. Oh, is that what it says? Okay, you're right. That's what it says. You're right. So I think, and why it says, because your ILDASM is opened on that particular exe. So let's close that. You're right. So now let's try to sign it with delay sign it. So you see, it worked fine, right? So let's try to do an ILDASM on it and see how the assembly looks like now. It looks, to the naked eye, it looks pretty much like the same. It has the same public key information, but what it is missing is the hash information, right? Let's try to add this to the GAC now, right? Because we were able to add this to the GAC, so let's try to add it to the GAC again. We say, you know what, it failed. This time it failed, saying that, you know what it says here is that, hey, it could not add it to the GAC, failure adding, song name signature could not be verified, was the assembly build delay sign? And that it was, it was build delay sign. So what you need to do is you need to turn on the verification, right? So how you can do it is, you have to run -vr, you have to run sn-vr program.exe, and you say that, you know what, it says that verification entry added for this guy. What it means is that, you know what, now I will not check the hash value for this particular DLL. Now if you try to add it again, it runs fine. Now later on, what you can do is you can sign it with the private key and now remove this particular verification entry. So that's all about delay sign assemblies. So the thing is that both private and public assemblies, both delay sign and strong name assemblies can be privately deployed, but for you to deploy them in the GAC, it has to be either strongly signed, and if it is delay signed, it has to have a verification entry added. I think that's pretty much it about all these things. We have spoken about shared assemblies. What we'll do later is, next time when we meet, is we'll talk about basic types. What are these value types, primitive types, what does it mean, how do they work, when in an app domain what gets loaded. For now I think this is good.